Hello and welcome back. It's an honor and privilege to be hosting season 3 of this summit. And this time we're talking all about love, multidimensional love, and how to flourish in your sacred union while ascending in consciousness. And today I'm joined by Joanna Shakti, who is a soul love mentor and the creator and founder of Ecstatic Intimacy, where she offers programs, events, and mentoring to men and women that empowers them to put the hot and happy, and we're going to be talking about the hot and happy today, back into love. So you may have seen Joanna, and we're also going to talk about this because I'm very interested, as the intimacy expert on America's Got Talent. Apparently she was giving kissing lessons on that, so we want to talk about that. And she's also appeared on Fox, VH1 and Comedy Central. So Joanna, a very warm welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. I'm really honored to be here and excited about our topic. We're going to get juicy and deep at the same time.
Yeah. Well, we were just saying before the call when we were prepping this, I said, you know, I'd like us to go to talk more about sacred sexuality in this interview. And Joanna said that she's absolutely open and willing to do that because, you know, one of my greatest wishes when I was putting together this summit is that on the previous summits we're talking about ascension and sort of went quite esoteric. And I'm really wanting us to ground these high frequencies, our soul, into the physical in this summit. And, you know, part of, you know, relationships happen on the physical plane, physical and emotional planes. You know, sex is still part of relationships, you know, from a human experience perspective, you know, it's still something that we've come here to experience. So I really don't want to leave that aspect out, but I do want to bring in the sacred aspects of it. And as Joanna was talking about, and we're going to go deep into this, really bringing in the heart aspects of sacred sexuality as well. But Joanna, I'd love to, for the viewers and for me, because I want to hear more about you, can we just start with a bit more of your background? So how did you become the soul love mentor? And I'm interested to hear this story. I know it's going to be a good one.
Well, where to start? Well, I'll start with the funny part. You know, how did I get here? Well, I didn't plan to be here. This was not an imagined life path for me in any way, shape or form. As a matter of fact, I have a degree in electrical engineering and an MBA, and I was climbing the corporate ladder in the oil and gas and high-tech industries in Houston, Texas, in the good old USA, good old boy network in the 90s. And one of the things that was a part of that journey and really that got me to there was growing up in the heart of the women's movement and all of the conditioning of who a woman should be, what she should do, what she shouldn't do, have it all together. There was a commercial in the States back when I was growing up that was for perfume that had the phrase, bring home the bacon, fry it up in the pan, and always take care of your man. I don't have it quite right, but it was something along those lines.
Whoa.
And be it all, do it all, and don't ever let them see you sweat.
Right.
And then I watched my family go through a lot of turmoil in relationship. And my stories, judgments, beliefs about men, about love were, let's just say, not pretty. And so marry the women's movement, marry the ugly judgments of men and relationship with insecurity and even self-hatred. And that I didn't feel worth anything, but then everything seemed out of control. So let me take control of everything.
Yeah.
And by the time I was like, one, I made a decision I would never depend on a man. So get an electrical engineering degree. You make sure that you can be successful and you never need anybody. But I wanted to be loved. Had a t-shirt that said, if I follow you home, will you keep me? And so this innocence and hunger for love, disbelief in love, didn't think I was valuable enough for love, and judgments towards men, which I wanted so bad. And then I met Prince Charming, 6'3", blonde hair, blue-eyed, power golfer, concert pianist, valedictorian, you name it, he was it. And we were divorced 4 years later. And I went on a path. Oh, by the way, orgasms, pretty elusive. Very elusive. Because when you're in control, it's really hard to have an orgasm. It doesn't work that way. It's all about letting go of control. So fast forward, put all these pieces together, I started on a quest. And as the first wake-up call was around the divine masculine and the divine feminine. And oh my God, there's a feminine woman in me. And she is buried alive. Buried alive. And I went on a quest to wake her up, but I knew very quickly in that quest that I was meant to leave the corporate world and step into serving women so they didn't have to go through the pain that I went through, and serving men so they didn't have to go through the pain that I put men through.
Yeah.
And that was the calling. And that was about 18 years ago. And ever since, and shortly thereafter, sacred sexuality came in, excuse me, to my world. And the recognition that this relationship path, this intimacy path, heart intimacy, emotional intimacy, physical intimacy, is a sacred path, is a path of ascension and the divine. And it has, I won't tell you it's all perfect, because that's part of being on the path. And the experiences and the love and the opening and the connection and the pleasures that have become available, I never would have imagined. Never would have imagined. And somewhere a couple of 3-4 years ago, America's Got Talent called me one day and said, we'd like you to audition to give a kissing lesson. I'm like, what? But okay.
That's awesome.
Really think you want to put me on television to do that? Absolutely. Because there's so much unconsciousness in our sexuality.
Yeah.
So much unconsciousness in our intimacy. And one of the things, I gave, Nick Cannon is the host, or was the host at that point in time. And they brought up a woman from the audience for me to give them a kissing lesson. And I brought in the sacred sexuality aspects of kissing. And how do you approach from a place that raises that energy and is conscious and is extending and deepening at the same time? And one of my colleagues in the sacred sexuality world messaged me shortly after it aired, and she said, did you see the mom covering the eyes of the like 12-year-old? We're going to guess he was 12 years old. Did you see the mom covering the eyes? That he couldn't watch this kissing happening on stage. I had a client that said his girlfriend walked out of the room because she couldn't watch the kissing.
Wow.
How much conditioning there is even around kissing. And so there's so much self-repression, which is completely the opposite of our ascension. And so it was fun, and it was crazy, and it was really enlightening to be able to get to do that.
Yeah, that's fascinating. I'm very I'm intrigued by the sacred sexuality aspects of kissing. I'm wondering whether, because I can almost feel the energy of the viewers going, I want to know what that is. I'm wondering whether you can talk us through some of those aspects at some point in the interview. But also, thank you for sharing what you shared around your story. And I think so many women, I know I relate, and I know so many women will relate to this kind of like, being in a culture where almost you have to be better than the men in order to succeed. And because there's so many more opportunities available to us, that can, in terms of like third dimensional patriarchal success, that can be met, but at the same time, that real loss of the femininity. Yeah, my goodness.
The cost
such wounding. Yeah. So I love and I'm grateful that you are a champion for this and a role model for this and a mentor for this in society, because it's so so needed right now. So let's talk about I'm still on the kissing, right? I'm trying to sort of like feel into this, but it's like, no, kissing. Maybe let's just talk about kissing and then we can move on to other topics.
So kissing. So it's interesting when we take sacred sexuality. So let's back up, because we're going to go to kissing, but I want to back up a step.
Yeah.
Sacred sexuality and the way that it's come to me, there's many different spiritual traditions or even religious traditions that have aspects of this. Mm-hmm. And the way that it came to me was through the tantric world, predominantly a Hindu influence with some Taoist influence. And yet there's references to it through Christianity and through so many of the sacred past. But let's go to Tantra, mm-hmm. which when it came westward, Tantra became synonymous with sex. Yet Tantra in its origin was effectively a pathway to God.
Yeah.
And there were 108, excuse me one second.
That's okay. We've both been sharing that we're going through a clearing, so we're both here with our throats there.
Yes. So 108 different tantras, 108 different pathways to God, mm-hmm. of which only about a handful, somewhere between a 10 and a dozen, I think, were actually related to sexuality. Right. And so to remember that this is within the context of the whole ascension, the whole awakening into who we are as spiritual beings with our humanness and our divineness, our divinity. And so in that, then if we take Tantra, there's a lot of fundamental elements to this. And yes, many lead to greater sexual experiences than we've ever had before, greater kisses than we've ever had before. And some of it starts with, how am I looking into your eyes? Mm-hmm. How am I seeing you? My breath meets your breath. And all of a sudden, our energies are aligning. That the kiss becomes not just about the two lips coming together or the tongues coming together, but the energies that are meeting each other. Mm-hmm. It's not, you'll notice if anybody watches this, America's Got Talent, he wants to go in quickly. Right. And what I'm coaching him is slow down. Let her be drawn to you. And so we're beginning already to talk about the masculine and the feminine dynamic in this. And yet if the masculine goes in as prey, P-R-E-Y, she's going to run.
Yes.
She doesn't want to be prey. And as one of my beautiful friends and clients who was a bodhisattva said, but if you prey on us, P-R-A-Y, we will be so drawn into the experience. And so I didn't go into that depth on America's Got Talent, but that's the essence of how are you meeting in this? And then I didn't get into this much in America's Got Talent, but when we talk about giving and receiving in a kiss, well, we both have to be kissing at the same time. Well, yes and no. What's it like to let your lips be pleasured? And simply to be the receiver as someone uses a whole bunch of different varieties of ways to kiss. And so how we use our tongue, how we use our breath, how we use our teeth, we can nibble on that lip. We can suck on that lip and draw it out and extend it. And that sounds weird without a demonstration on some level, but if you imagine the tension and the polarity of that so slowly extending that kiss.
I'm imagining it. I'm sure our viewers are. You're painting a picture.
That's exactly what I was trying to do without a demonstration. And so it's when we get into the full, and I teach this in my sacred sexuality weekend retreat, but when we get into exploring different aspects of the lips, the inside, the outside, the upper part of the roof of the mouth, how that actually has a direct connection to the yoni, which is the Sanskrit word for vagina, which means sacred space. And what if we, as women, what if in a heterosexual relationship, what if the men in our lives honored our vagina as a sacred space?
Mm-hmm.
How would that change the way that we interact?
Mm-hmm.
How would it change our yes and our no? How would it change what we do to lead up to our sexual intercourse? And oh, by the way, just because we're talking about it, the masculine,
yeah,
the masculine, the penis, the lingam, which means wand of light.
Oh wow, wand of light.
Wand of light.
Wand. Oh,
wand.
That is
like
amazing.
Yeah, can you feel that right now?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, the Harry Potter.
Yes.
Wand.
Exactly. But what would it be like to be penetrated by a wand of light? And oh, by the way, and this is great news for the masculine, the energy, we've started to talk about energy, the energy of the wand of light doesn't stop at the end of the physical penis. It extends. What if that wand of light, when it enters a woman, could extend all the way up and through and beyond her crown chakra?
Wow.
What if it could touch her heart and then keep going? And it can. So the healing power, the loving power of our sacred intimacy is enormous.
Yeah, I mean, when you add the energetic and the sacred aspects, and this is what is beautiful about it, because let's face it, and I'm sure a lot of this audience can understand where I'm coming from with this. When you get to a certain, maybe a certain age for some people, or it could be a certain stage in your spiritual evolution path, because of all sorts of inner alchemic responses and reactions that are going on within you, because you're awakening, you're becoming more light, you're becoming more spirit, you're becoming more divine, your lower aspects tend to be, well, absorbed by your higher aspects, by the divine aspects. So the old kind of fixation on ego sex for gratification, physical sex starts to fall by the wayside, and there is a yearning for a more expansive, more spiritual, more sacred experience, and more unlimited access, and a more unlimited merge with the divine. So I love what you're talking about, because you can feel trapped otherwise if you stay in the 3D physical and you can end up thinking, is there something wrong with me? Because, you know, two bodies, two slabs of meat, just doing that after a while, like, you know, it gets to the point where it's like, is this all there is? Yeah. And there's nothing wrong with that as well, because I think we need to integrate the whole experience here. But I love how you are expanding our sense of what is possible.
Well, in so many pieces to what you just said. And yes, it is the human and the divine, like always. And it's bringing like our fullest potential while we're walking this planet. And this planet is calling for ascended beings right now, embodied ascended beings. And so embodied means that we are integrating human and divine. and we're living it. And so, yes, integrating all of these chakras. And that one of the things that those that have gone through several layers of work with me, because we don't jump right into sacred sexuality. So there's some foundational pieces that we need to set first to make this really possible, like to really live in this. And that where we are, quote unquote, the safest, and this is especially for the feminine, is that one of the ways that the feminine lets go of her orgasm, and one of the ways that she drops into her surrender, is by feeling safe. Now, her safety is definitely her own responsibility. And it is contributed to by, again, I'm going to speak heterosexual right now because I'm speaking the polarity between a masculine energy and a feminine energy. That can happen in same-sex bodies. I'm going to use the example of men and women to represent the masculine and the feminine, but that's not the exclusive way this applies. That energy, like when the masculine integrates his physical desires, his physical hunger with his spiritual consciousness, what happens to a lot of masculine men is that they go into their spiritual consciousness and then they repress their physical desire. And so I can't tell you the number of women that come to me and say, I want a masculine man who is spiritual. Yes. But every spiritual man I meet is passive. Now there's some work for the women on this too, but right now I'm going to talk about the men's side of this. Is that as they awaken, there's a repression of the humanness, that assertiveness, that drive, that it's been shamed on a lot of levels. And especially right now with the Me Too movements and everything else, like so much confusion for the masculine owning its sexuality. And yet go back to the safety. I'll never forget a moment in the front of the room, I think it was a year ago fall, that this man awakening into the truth of his sexuality. And because of the depth of his trust of himself, the women in the room were able to reflect back, that's when I can trust you. When you are congruent in, yes, your desire, your hunger, he was owning that hunger and owning his consciousness simultaneously. And it was as if the women in the room could melt because there was a safety and a desire at the same time. And this is what now lets the polarity that draws us together and then lets us circulate this energy between our two bodies and go to the place where now wild, quote unquote, wild, passionate sex has an entirely different experience because it's surrounded in the sacred. Even if it is more intense and bodies slapping, but it's all enveloped in this container of the sacred, exploring something else. And that can then be mirrored by the slower, more intimate stillness even of our sexual encounters. And oh, by the way, stillness can be a place of massive orgasmic energy. And it's completely counterintuitive. I've had some of my best ejaculatory orgasms in absolute stillness. And this is a radically different way of looking at how we bring bodies together. And I really like to talk about it as where heart and sex unite and spirit leads. This is what I'm talking about. Heart and sex together, led by spirit.
That's a great combo. That's a great combo in that order. Yeah. That's okay. So let's talk about these ejaculatory orgasms in the So okay. I mean, it is you hear a lot of women talking about it. You know, this struggle to achieve orgasm, and even just saying achieve orgasm, it's like we can feel the energy just dropping at that point. And it can feel like it's, you know, like you're nearly there, that it's gone, where, you know, like it's this sort of, and then it must be really confusing for men. Like, you know, it's kind of elusive enough to us women who are experiencing it. I mean, how can we expect our men to support us in this process when it's, and I bet you have an answer for this actually. Like, how can we empower the masculine to, what does the masculine need to know about female orgasm?
Well, and this is, again, stuff that I typically teach in my advanced courses. So again, I'm just going to say, like, to really set this up. Actually, I'm going to put something in here before I answer that question, because I feel like it's an integrity thing for me. That I don't want to falsely set up somebody that you're going to get this full ecstasy just by listening to what I'm about to say. And I'm going to answer your question.
Okay, awesome.
The path of soul love, as I've come to know it, as I come to share it, has 3 phases, 3 parts to this journey. The third part is what I call ecstatic ecstasy, living and loving in divine union, living, loving, and making love in divine union. It is the place where there is devotion and there is the sacredness to the partnership and the union, and it is fulfilling in bed and out. So life, as well as how we're in relationship, as well as how we're making love, becomes juicy and full. And that's elusive at times. And it gets deeper and deeper the more we go into this journey. But what sets us up to really be able to have that? Go back a phase. I'm taking you backwards through the path right now. The prerequisite to the ecstatic ecstasy is ecstatic intimacy. This is the heart space. This is the vulnerability space. This is the space of into me you see. Because we can have sex without being intimate. Yeah. And it is the body slapping. It's the doing of the deed. It's not the realm of, oh my God, I am so much more connected to you. It is not the realm of orgasm that is truly the, oh my God, because we're connected to God in a deeper way. So the foundation is this ecstatic intimacy where heart to heart and body to body and soul to soul, and where we're dancing this dynamic of masculine and feminine, and where our conflict is actually embraced and becomes communion, so that we can bring all of the dance of the up and down that is required in our relationship, and we navigate that to come closer. So it is vulnerable. It is exposing. So we're naked in our heart, in the ecstatic intimacy. And in order to have that ecstatic intimacy, we have to have, so go back to phase 1, we have to have ecstatic authenticity. Ecstatic authenticity, we've heard the word authenticity is overused, and it's so important. But when I describe ecstatic authenticity, it is the place where we are so connected to who we are, what we want, what we desire, what turns us on, what turns us off, what we need, that we're no longer willing to deny who we are, no longer willing to sell ourselves out, or twist ourselves into a pretzel, trying to get love, trying to get success, trying to get attention, trying to keep a relationship, trying to keep anything. It is the place where we have found who I am, and I like who I am. I break self-love down into a whole bunch of other pieces, because self-love is a nebulous concept, but it is this idea of I'm in deep relationship with me, because the strength of any other relationship is completely correlated to the strength of the relationship with me. Your self-abandonment is the #1 destroyer of intimate relationship. So we have to be strong in this relationship.
Mm-hmm.
So now, when I know who I am, we all have, almost all of us have a predominant masculine or feminine energy. When I am living authentically in that masculine or feminine energy, when I am honoring my needs, wants, desires, when I can express them, when I can show you when I hurt and when I'm scared, and men do that as well as women, then we get to have the intimacy. And now we can have this deep, raw ecstasy that is like beyond what we've ever imagined. So I wanted to answer your question, but I didn't want to set us up to think we're just going to go here.
Yeah.
Because it is this whole journey that lets us go to the depths of the ecstasy.
Thank you for that. Thank you for sharing some more about those foundation pieces as well, because that's the scary stuff.
Totally. Totally.
That's why we want to jump over it sometimes. Just go, right, okay, let's just skip over these like intimate parts and, you know, like
talk about spiritual bypass.
Totally. Yeah. It's
like,
yeah.
Like, we can try. There's one of my videos that's out there is, if you can't talk about sex before you have it, don't have it.
Talking to the other person.
Yeah. If the two of you can't talk about sex, there are so many walls and fears up that it is going to limit your potential in bed. So it is about our own comfort to talk about it, our own knowing what we need, want, or desire, and theirs. And can we do this dance together? Because that's where that level of communication, that level of vulnerability, that level of exposure is what's going to create the conversation, the sharing, the realness that lets us continue to amp up our sexual experiences.
I love this. I mean, we need one of you in every school, in every you know, it's just so important. This is so important, and we're a society, we're a planet that is desperately messed up in our sexuality, and most of us don't even know that there is anything called sacred sexuality. You're on a big mission. You're on a huge mission. And yeah, very, very important one. Yeah. Yeah, so needed.
I'm blessed, and you know, there's still that, the calling is huge. And the truth is, I'm calling in those that are also called on this mission.
Yeah.
There's a leadership aspect of that. And this is totally, I wouldn't have expected this to come in, but you just set the stage for it, that I was like, oh, it is. There's a call, because the planet needs this. And the leadership from this fully integrated body, where our sexuality is our life force energy. It's not just about romping. It's not just about procreation. And it's great for those things. And it is the energy that flows through us. From a sacred sexuality standpoint, we can connect with our sacred sexual center and absolutely cultivate that energy before we walk into a meeting, before we speak, before we have a heartfelt conversation. Not so that we can be sexual in it, but so that our life force energy is alive and flowing through us. And then, oh, by the way, yes, we can take it into the bedroom. And so, yeah, there is a call for those that want to lead in the space, who have similar missions. And it's so important for this integrated wholeness of love and sexuality.
So how can we, a few questions are coming to mind. The first is, for single people who are watching this, how does, can they practice sacred sexuality? The second is and I loved you touching it earlier about the awakening masculine. And yes, it's something which, is commonly spoken about by women, this feeling of sometimes loss, that, okay, he's awakened, but, that sort of essence has now been suppressed. Can you just talk a little bit more into those 2 points and give our viewers some advice? Because I know this will affect a lot of people.
Yeah, and I'm going to try to, in that, actually, to come back to the question about the orgasm and what can we share with men. Like, I'm going to try to bring all these pieces together.
Amazing.
We'll see if I can get it all set, but I think I can. So, singles. Yes. Like, I've said so many times when I do sexuality workshops, the singles take themselves out. Well, I don't have a partner, so I can't do this. The truth is, it's the best time. I love, and actually the truth is, in my workshops, they're usually more like 60 to 70% singles and 30 to 40% couples, actually. Yes, because the time to get this right and to get in a relationship with your sexuality, to get in a relationship with your heart, and to get in a relationship with who you really are and what you need is before you draw that person in.
Makes sense.
Because how you're vibrating has everything to do with who you're magnetizing. So get into your sacred space and magnetize someone in. And that includes knowing, clearing out your own crap around your sexuality. Because we've got so much conditioning. And it's not a judgment, but we all have it. Like, there's tons of conditioning, conscious and unconscious, around sexuality. So before you get into the sheets next time, before you attract that partner, one, it's going to change who you attract. And two, it's going to change the experience and the foundation. If you're looking for a long-term relationship, it's going to change the foundation of how you build that relationship. And it's going to change your first sexual experience. So yes, yes, and yes to singles. This is actually the best time as a single. The couples actually have to, like, totally love working with the couples, but they've got to actually unravel more stuff.
Yeah.
From all the unconscious challenges that they've had. So don't start a relationship and build the unconscious challenges. Start fresh. So that's super key. So now let's go back to that attraction part. Whether you're already in a relationship or not, most relationships are based on the balance of this masculine and feminine. I don't like that word balance. Let me rewind there. The relationship, the polarity between the masculine and the feminine. And there is so much confusion about that energy. I can't tell you how many women will think they are masculine. Me as an engineer, I was like, yeah, I'm masculine, until I got down and really asked the questions that had me see the essence beyond all the conditioning, beyond the life experience. So, and then the masculine being conditioned to be more sensitive, to be softer, to be more conscious, to repress that assertiveness. And so we've been neutralizing our sexual energy. And we have a lot of friend zone and a lot of roommate zone relationships. Or there's some spark for a while and then it flattens out. It's because we've been repressing these two energies. And so the awakened masculine, and it's really interesting that in a way, it has been driving the feminine to be more unconscious as she embodies her masculine. Because I get a drive, as you were talking about, to succeed in our corporate world, in our patriarchal world. Women have thought they had to embody the masculine. This is an entirely different topic, but they'll actually be more successful and less exhausted when they reconnect with their feminine. And so there's a call for women to refine their feminine. And there's a call for the masculine to, yes, have their awakened consciousness and their potency and their drive and their directedness and their assertiveness. It's a conscious assertiveness. The feminine woman wants to be in the hot, steamy kiss up against the wall. She wants to be the one against the wall. But when he says, I have to be the nice guy, I can't do that. That wouldn't be respectful. Now, yes, there's a container and there's a consciousness. You don't do this with a stranger. But as we step into this dynamic, the masculine and the feminine, one is going to be more likely to throw the other one down on the bed. One is going to be, and I say that with love and consciousness. It's not disrespectful, but it's in this honor that yes, there is the assertive, pursuing masculine. There is the surrendered, receptive feminine. And these two come together, these two energies come together and they stick. And it takes some energy to pull them apart. And oh, by the way, those feminine women who are saying, I want that, where's that really strong man? I want that strong, spiritual, masculine man. But she's coming with her strength and trying to outman, as we talked about way back in the beginning, outman the men. Well, she's in her masculine energy. You take those two magnets that were connected, but you flip the other one to masculine. When you bring masculine to masculine or positive to positive in a magnet, how fast can that magnet repel? The very man she's wanting to attract, she's repelling. Mm. So there's a critical importance in our passion, in our orgasmic energy. So let's bring the orgasm in as we're talking about reconnecting to the truth of the authentic awakened feminine, the authentic awakened masculine, and how they come together. Well, one of the cosmic jokes in our bodies, so now we're talking about humanness, is that in general, women get connected to their sexuality through their heart space. Give me more intimacy and I'll give you more sex. She's feminine, actually. So if we look at the body energy centers, the female body, second chakra, sexual center, is receptive. It is feminine. It goes internal to the body. Her heart center is actually masculine. Her breasts penetrate off the body. The masculine is the penetrating energy. So she's got polarized energies between her second chakra and her fourth chakra. She receives and she sends. Male body, his second chakra penetrates. His lingam comes off the body. His heart space is actually feminine. It is receptive. And so here's a really important key. How a woman wants her sexual center treated is how a man wants his heart center treated. The vulnerability that we experience in our sexual center is the vulnerability that he expresses or experiences in his heart center.
Oh, that's fascinating.
We cannot push. How many men have said somewhere along the road, we've gotten a man that said, stop pushing your love on me.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we say, stop pushing your sex on me.
Mm-hmm.
It's the cosmic joke. So he gets to his heart through his sex. We get to our sex through our heart. And how do we do this dance? So now this is some of that advanced work of how do we navigate this cosmic joke? But go back to the question about orgasm, is that she needs to feel safe. And if she also needs space. If she's pushed, see, a lot of men, and this is where they can get unconscious in their ego, is they think they're a better lover based on how many orgasms she has.
Yeah.
But now we got to go back to his authenticity. Let's rewind all the way back over here, that I'm enough regardless of how my partner does or doesn't respond sexually. Now, that's not to say I don't care. But how I feel about myself as a man, I'm putting myself in a man's body right now, how you feel about yourself as a man is not dependent on her response.
No.
And it will allow a man to draw her out and actually give her space to let her do what she needs to do. Mm-hmm. And when she's not pushed, she'll feel safer, which is what she needs. Now she's got to trust herself and her own set of safety. And so this is now a relationship that a woman has to have with her own body and her own consciousness and the partner she chooses. And when she says yes and when she says no. And there's been a ton of women. This is part of our contribution to the Me Too movement. And I'm not blaming women and I'm not blaming men. This is a co-created dynamic, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
But the number of times that a woman has said yes to sex because she wanted to get attention or love.
Mm-hmm.
And that was a denial of self. That was a disregard of self for her.
Mm-hmm.
And so her orgasmic safety has everything to do with how she's treating her own body, and her own yes and her own no.
That's powerful.
So you've taken this interview like I've never done one at this level.
Wow.
And the depth, I just really want to call, like, there's so much opportunity for buttons to be pushed in the conversation that we've had, for things to be stirred up.
Mm-hmm.
And so if listeners are stirred up in this is a powerful place. And it's a tender place. And it's a sacred space. And yeah, I just felt, I've brought a ton of different pieces.
We've gone deep.
A little bit of this and a little bit of this and a little bit of this. And to know that there is a lot that will support you in this journey. Mm-hmm. And if it's stirred right now, honor it. Be loving and kind and present to it. And know that it's a calling to have something awakened and set free in you. Mm-hmm. And if it's irritated you and pissed you off, that's also a sign of a calling to go within.
Yeah, we've gone very deep, and I thank you for that. I mean, yeah, just listening to you, there's just so much that comes up, and you're right, that will be the case for the viewers. And there will also be so many viewers who are like, I needed to hear this today, I needed to hear that. I needed to have this realization. This can be such an area, relationships, sexuality, the emotional realm. It's a hidden realm. It's a hidden realm. And we can just, we can not see it. We can put our heads in the sand, and people who are coming to this summit, and, we really, in our hearts, all of the speakers that have got together for this summit want to, have only got people's highest, happiness, love, sexual bliss, everything in mind. This is why this co-creation's happened. And I thank you for going to the depths that you have, and for triggering these realizations in people's awareness, because what can't be seen can't be resolved, can't be transmuted, can't be taken to a higher level. And it has to come to the light first of all. So thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. And really, this is what we've been seeing in our world, is the shadow coming to the light. And it's not always comfortable. I think that's really what you and I are both saying right now, is that we have to go through that discomfort. We have to go through, I've tried to pretend that wasn't there. I've tried to ignore that. Yeah. And maybe I wasn't even conscious that I was trying to ignore it. Likely, I wasn't conscious that I was trying to ignore it.
Yeah.
And it is that call to the light for all of us.
Yes. Yeah. And it always can be transmuted. I mean, that's the beautiful thing.
Always.
Yeah. So what I'd love to do is, I would love to talk about now your beautiful offer. It's truly going to be a gift, and there is a limited number on this, just because it's actually a beautiful one-to-one session with Joanna. And Joanna, I'll let you describe what that might look like. But because, it is Joanna's time, it's a one-to-one, we are capping this at 15 people. So the first 15 people who book this session, and Joanna's giving you a beautiful and generous discount as well for her private time. So, I just recommend that, Joanna's obviously highly experienced, a true expert in this arena. If anything that we have spoken about in today's interview has brought something up, has triggered something in you, and if you want to go deeper and explore your personal set of circumstances with Joanna, then click on the link that I'm sending you on the email today, and you'll be taken to an area in Joanna's website where you can book a call. And Joanna, please give us a bit of, so in terms of the cost, I mean, it's very generous. So it's normally, the value of this is $497. It's on Joanna's website normally for $197, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And for Summit viewers, Joanna's given a discount, a further discount down to just $97. And guys, this is a 55 to 75-minute session. So the 15 of you plus, and I'm sure there's going to be some additional people that want to book that call, please go onto the website as soon as possible, because we unfortunately we do have to cap it at that number. So Joanna, what can people expect in this beautiful session with you?
Yeah, it's called an Igniting Soul Love Session. And it is the place where, there's been confusion, we've lost hope, we're frustrated. Whether you're in relationship or you're looking for one, it's the time where we come back and really over this time, there's the key that we want to do is look at where you're stuck. What's been getting in the way? What are the challenges? And also, what is it that you truly want to experience? What does this sacred love, soul partnership look like for you? And what we want to do is be able to see the path and identify what are the key next steps for you on that path to take you into the sacred, soulful partnership that you truly want. And so it's creating a safe space, an intentional space to talk about it and get real. And so that's what we'll do. And for those that don't get one of those 15, you could certainly, and as space permits, use one of the higher priced 197, but there's only 15 that I can do, and the rest will be delayed just from my calendar. And there's also an opportunity to get my Ecstatic Intimacy Jumpstart Kit. If you don't get one of those sessions where we are laying that roadmap for you, that Jumpstart Kit can help you get deeper into what we're talking about here.
And that's also detailed on your website, isn't it? The Jumpstart Kit.
It is.
So if you book a session, then definitely click on that.
Yeah. We want to recreate hope. We want to, in that session, we want to recreate hope. We want to reignite your path through and into the depths of loving and being loved, making love in that ecstatic intimacy and that ecstatic ecstasy.
What was it? Empowering people to put the hot and happy back into love. I absolutely adore that. That's beautiful. And that is some mission. And I just thank you so much for being on this planet at this time, to really embody and share your gifts and that beautiful purpose and the love and the intimacy that you're sharing with the world. It's so needed. And on behalf of me, and I'm sure all the Summit viewers watching this, thank you so much for your presence in this interview. Thank you so much for sharing so generously everything that you have shared with us, for all the illumination and the possibilities that you're opening up for us as well. Thank you.
You're so welcome. Thank you for creating this space. It's so needed.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thank you to all the viewers who've tuned in today. It's certainly been a consciousness raising interview. I'm sure that you'll agree. Please do reach out to us as well. We're in the Facebook group. We'd love to connect with you. We'd love to hear what your reaction is of today's interview. We'd love to know where you are. So, do connect with us and allow us to serve you. This is what we have put this sacred space together for. So we're here to help you. We're here to help you to truly flourish, whatever situation you're currently in. And keep on tuning in. There's more interviews, and there's more, incredible offers, free gifts, and wisdom coming your way. So namaste. Thank you so much, and see you very soon.